look around. The world around us is not natural. As far removed as natural as can be. People spend the entirety of their day away from the sunlight, or they're in the sun but they got their clothes on or sunscreen on. You got so not enough light during the day, you got too much blue light at night, you're off of the actual earth, so you're not grounded and not connected to the earth. The food that you eat, most people are still eating non-organically produced food, so it's full of pesticides, herbicides, chemicals. Or the processed foods, it's full of again chemicals and chemicals. So you don't live in the natural world. So to think that a natural approach is enough in a non-natural world, in the modern world, is a little bit, I'm afraid to say, naive.
Welcome back to another episode on Find Joy with Joyan, the podcast that is all about helping you live and lead a life with joy. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we are giving you access to the world's best and brightest minds in their fields on our show. Listen in as these leaders impart their wisdom, inspiration, and stories to empower you to live joyfully with intention, passion, and purpose, and celebrate the struggles and overcome the challenges we may face each day with the tools and insights that we are going to share with you. Whether you are looking to improve your relationship, find your passion, learn how to embrace the present moment, deepen your spiritual connection, or learn the magic of manifestation and law of attraction to attract more abundance, this podcast is here to guide you every step of the way. As your host, I am also challenging myself to dig deeper to learn and unlearn and ride along with you. We are not here to tell you how to live your life because it is your life. But this life is all that we have right now. So my friend, why not live our life to the fullest? So I hope these conversations and stories will guide and inspire you to live your life to your highest potential and a life that you are proud of as you continue to grow and evolve in your own journey. So if you are ready to start living a more passionate, purposeful, and joyful life, join us every Wednesday on Find Joy with Joyan for inspirational stories, powerful message, fun conversations, and empowering thoughts with me and my special guests and friends. And now, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Our guest today is a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and author of the book Autism Wellbeing Plan: How to Get Your Child Healthy. His health research covers many areas including autism and children's health, pregnancy preparation and recovery, and optimizing health and longevity. He uses advanced lab testing to identify hidden metabolic and health imbalances and teaches clients how to use diet, supplementation, detoxification, stress reduction, sleep optimization, and other strategies to address chronic health issues and transform their health. He's here today to empower you to live a healthier, longer, and better life. So, guys, help me in welcoming the certified Biteco breeding instructor, PN1 nutrition coach, Grow Baby practitioner, DNA fit trainer, and the host of two podcasts, Christian Yordanov. Hi, Christian. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Joyan. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
That was one of the hardest bio that I've ever read on my show. It's like a lot of words, like they're like totally, like a lot of terms that are like totally new to me because I'm not really well educated, I would say, in terms of health and nutrition. And the thing is, so I always do my research on my guests, and when I was doing my research, I saw that on your website you did a detox workshop, and that caught my attention. So I actually watched a video. You talk about like how do you know if you have some toxic exposure, and the general risk factors include things like being a human, living and breathing, living
Yeah.
and working in traffic. I was like, that seems almost impossible to not put ourselves at risk, right? So
Yeah.
talk to us about first why is that important and in the modern world, and then we'll talk about the how.
Sure. I'll give you an example, right? So, as I was telling you earlier, I've been to Singapore a couple of times on business trips, and one thing that struck me. So we were in the hotel, The hotel was very close to the office of the company I was working for, and we would walk. And I saw a lot of people were just walking to work in Singapore, and there's a lot of traffic around you. So during that walk to work, you are already getting exposed to a lot of car exhaust combustion byproducts and all sorts of other things like heavy metals from the engines of the cars, tiny amounts, but these toxic exposures are small but cumulative. So on over the course of the day, we touch plastics, the printer in the office, or your gym shaker bottle with your protein shake, the paper receipts that we're given. I never touch paper receipts in the supermarket that they give me, because that's the highest concentration of BPA, bisphenol A. So quick pro tip to everybody listening: don't touch unless it's a big ticket item. You need to, like, let's say you're buying a laptop, grab the receipt by the corner, quickly fold it up, put it away somewhere away from you, and try to never touch it again unless you need it to do a return or whatever else. So the other thing that struck me in Singapore is, because at least the area we were staying in, kind of very close to the epicenter of it all, is people doing a lot of jogging. First of all, how are people jogging in 31 degrees Celsius with 99% humidity? If it was me, I would probably die there on the side of the road. I don't know how people do it. But what struck me is people were jogging in traffic. This is another really something I highly discourage with my clients and my friends and family and whoever I see jogging that I know that will listen to me. Like, look, you're breathing in at a higher rate, faster pulse, so the turnover of breaths in, breaths out is much greater. So you're getting more of this toxic exposure. So these are just basic everyday things that we're doing
Mm,
that are just one small part of the many, like, again, I said, dozens of small on on their own toxic exposures, but in the cumulative grand scheme of things over the course of months, years, and decades as we
yeah.
live, are are becoming very detrimental to people. That is why younger and younger people are sicker and sicker, and nowadays even kids as already in their teenage years are obese or with diabetes, and there's early onset Alzheimer's now, and people in their 40s are getting it, and to a great extent it's because of so much toxic exposure that is not handled by the body, and the reason for that is poor nutritional status.
Mm. What would happen eventually to
What will
our
happen?
health, or does it lead
Mm.
to cancer or even some other serious issues?
Well, I think pretty much the research, although not relatively compared to all the research being done on stuff out there, not that much research has been done, but the research that has been done on the various toxins is unequivocal that they're harmful to life, be that mice, rats, or higher animals. So the way it would toxic exposure affects us will be different for everybody, because we have variations in our genetics, in our environment, in our general health and stuff like that. So almost all symptoms and diseases have been correlated, at the very least correlated to toxic exposure. If you just to rattle off a few examples, so gut problems, all the gut problems, right? Because a lot of toxins, we ingest them through the chemicals in the food, for example.
Mm,
Skin problems, immune system dysregulation and dysfunction, things like asthma, allergies. A lot of these toxins are immunotoxic, like diesel exhaust particles. They can injure certain immune cells, cause an imbalance in the immune system. And when you imbalance the immune system, it's so tightly connected with the gut that the gut can get disrupted. And when you disrupt the gut, anything can happen in the body, because the gut is like Hippocrates said thousands of years ago: all disease begins in the gut. And now the gut, because it's so tightly connected with the nervous system, you can also get nervous system type issues, right? And we're talking things like at the most extreme end of the spectrum would be things like things like multiple sclerosis or Alzheimer's disease, neurodegeneration. So
Mm.
very serious conditions. And then on the younger side of people, things like autism, because I've written a book on autism.
Yeah.
uh, Toxins like heavy metals, for example, have been implicated in autism, where higher levels of toxic metals were correlated with more symptom severity in autism. So, how the body breaks down when it's exposed to toxins is very much um, dependent on where a person's weak links and weak organs are, and usually the weak links in the chain is where you will get some type of dysfunction. So again, just to kind of summarize, literally any condition can be made worse by toxins. They might not necessarily be causing it all every single time, but
Mm.
for sure they're going to be exacerbating and making it worse.
Yeah. Okay. So for someone like me, like I mentioned, I don't have a lot of knowledge in health and nutrition. How do we go about choosing the right lab test? There are so many out there, and how do we then use it to help identify some of our health issues and sources of our health issues?
Yeah, so with the clients I work, so generally it's best to leave the selection of the lab test to be recommended by the
Okay.
practitioner, because they'll know. For example, if someone comes to me and they clearly have some type of digestive function problem,
Yeah.
let's say gas or bloating or pain or intermittent constipation, if it's something gut related, we probably want to do a stool test to check if there's any harmful bacteria, parasites, protozoa, yeast like candida and so on present in the gut, and then we can check other things that evaluate digestive function. um, if someone is coming with energy problems, fatigue, for example, just general lack of quality of life,
Mhm.
for example, then we do this really awesome urine test called the organic acids test. You just pee in a little container at home, call the courier comes to your house, picks it up, and then we get the lab work. The results can tell us if you have yeast, candida, bacterial stuff, so again gut stuff. But we check for B vitamin status, other nutrient status like coenzyme Q10,
Mhm.
antioxidants, and a number of other things, including neurotransmitter metabolism, things like dopamine, serotonin, things like that. So with that's actually my favorite test. And when someone is coming with me with not a specific gut problem,
Yeah.
or someone wants to optimize their health, I do work with clients that just want to like optimize mental performance or optimize physical performance. So in those cases, we run this test and we have a very sweeping broad look at the metabolism, energy production as well as a big one. And using that data, we then can make some clinical decisions, supplementation, dietary improvements. But so those would be my two favorites, the ones I use the most. In other cases, when we suspect, let's say someone is maybe works in the heavy industry, uh, let's say a car mechanic or something like that, or a welder, something more where metals are being used, then we can do maybe hair testing to check for toxic metals. Occasionally, if there's pretty severe of a health problem, we can do more specialized testing, like testing
Mhm.
for mold or mycotoxins. We can test for chemical toxicity. But generally, the couple of tests I mentioned, stool testing or the organic acids test with a little bit of standard blood work, is fine. And then sometimes, especially with women, sometimes we do a comprehensive hormone testing for the sex hormones. So we see the estrogens, all the different, well, most of the estrogens, the androgens like testosterone, how they're being metabolized. Are they being metabolized down the healthy pathways? Also, the cortisol and the stress hormones that are produced in the adrenals. We were talking about this before we started recording, but a lot of busy professionals and entrepreneurs, they're burning the candle at both ends, working really hard. So whenever I run this hormone test on people, their cortisol, the
Mm.
stress hormone,
Yeah.
is always through the roof. And people were like, I can't sleep and I can't do this and I can't do that, and my libido and my energy levels. And then when we showed them this lab report, they're like, oh, now it all makes sense. My my cortisol at night when it should be low is through the roof.
Wow.
My testosterone is low, and because of that my estrogen is like all out of whack. So when people see this, they start to understand the the decisions we make, especially when we're young and ambitious, may be more costly than we realize it at the time.
Yeah, I can totally relate. Like you said, we talked about this before our chat. So let's go there. And because I share with you, most of my listeners, they're entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, or people just like running their own business, or really like busy professional. But I'm
Mm.
thankful because they have time to listen to my podcast, right? So how do we? Okay, so and you share with me you're also writing your third book, which is all about
second
the
second book.
your second book,
Yeah.
shortcut to improving our health. So what would be your number one tip for all the entrepreneurs out there or busy professionals out there?
The number one thing, it's hard to say what the number one
Okay,
thing is, but so the book, and this is actually this is the first show that I've actually
I'm honored.
told, yeah, that I've said that I'm writing, because I literally kind of very recently decided finally what my next project will be.
Mm,
So the book will be I'm not sure what it will be called exactly, but the working title is something like shortcuts to better health, longevity, and mental performance.
mm,
So it sounds like too good to be true. How can you take a shortcut to not only better health, but also increase longevity and mental performance? Now, when it comes to mental performance, maybe you can take some pharmaceuticals or drugs or stimulants to give you better performance, but generally that's at a cost. You pay a cost. So when I talk about improving mental performance, I'm talking about improving it without a cost, without, let's say, not being able to sleep. So you should be able to sleep well, perform well, think well, write or create or build or market or speak,
mm,
engage people, work hard on your stuff, go home, or let's say you work from home, be the dad, the mom, go do your sport, whatever you want to do, uh, and just be a fully functional human without having to just drink coffees all day long and stuff like that. Not that coffees, not that I'm against coffee or anything like that. So there's a lot of things you can do, but some of the shortcuts, and I'm gonna share some of them. And the reason I call them shortcuts is a little bit of, I guess, of a marketing term, just to
mm,
engage people, because we all, especially the busier you are,
yeah,
the more like you can't, like, I have some clients that are busy, so I'm telling them, look, if you do me a favor, in the app, in your client management app, track your diet, or at least take pictures of your diet, for of your food that you're eating for a week. Help me understand how you're eating so I can help you optimize it. And they're so busy, they don't have the time to do that.
wow,
And it would literally take a minute or 2 minutes. Sometimes, you're eating, you can just take a quick picture, then
yeah,
upload it at the end of the week, all of them at one go, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not that much work, but people think they don't have the time, right? So those people seem to be the thing that seems to be easiest for them to do is, if I tell them take this supplement for this
mm,
specific purpose, they're like, I can do that. And you know what? I can take that, put it in my bag, take it to work or to the office or to the conference or when I'm on a trip. So taking supplements is one of the biggest ways that I found is to shorten the journey, to improve health outcomes, to improve mental performance, and all the other things, longevity, whatever better sleep. With the right supplements and the right nutrients, you can get a long ways there. And I'll give you one example, right?
yeah,
So creatine, maybe usually if it's a guy and you hear creatine, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, I used to take that when I was going to the gym a lot to
right,
build muscle. So when you hear creatine, it's one of the most popular and studied supplements. And people, when they hear creatine, they think bodybuilders,
yeah,
guys trying to build muscle, sports people.
yeah,
But if you do a simple Google search and say creatine, if creatine's effect on IQ, you will see studies that show that taking creatine improves things like cognitive function, short-term memory, and a number of other markers of improved, mental performance, basically. So something as simple as creatine, which generally what it does is it increases the reservoir
Mm.
of quickly usable energy in the body,
Okay.
right? And because the brain is one of the hungriest for energy, the most energy demanding or metabolically active organ in the body, if you add creatine to your daily regime, 5 grams a day, 3 to 5 grams a day with a meal, literally you can't. It's as simple as that. You don't have to time it, or morning, evening, doesn't really matter so much as long as you do it every day. You are supplying this short burst type energy, which is very, very helpful for the gut, of course the muscles we know, but also for the gut, other organs, and the brain. So they've done studies, and generally people, because creatine is found in meat predominantly, people that are
Mm.
vegetarian or they don't, or vegan, or don't eat much meat, and older people seem to have the best effect in terms of improvements, right? So if you already eat a lot of meat, you might not feel the same improvement from creatine, but most people seem to feel an improvement. Always a certain subset don't respond to a supplement. So something as simple as creatine, as simple, you can get it in capsules to make it simpler, but you can get it in bulk. It's cheap. In bulk, you get a kilogram of it, and one teaspoon, whether that's in your smoothie in the morning or just in a little glass of water with your lunch. It's really that simple, and you are literally improving almost all of the cells in your body's ability to create energy and to do their jobs. It's that simple. So that's a little shortcut
Mm.
that I like to use, and with all my clients pretty much, on, again, it's good for energy, cognitive abilities or cognitive function, and it's good for longevity.
Okay.
When you, at the end of the day, when you understand the mechanisms of giving the cells more energy, having a bigger reservoir of the short burst energy, you are literally uh, giving them the thing that they would otherwise make. So they don't have to make creatine.
Right.
So that energy can be used for other things like detoxification, repair, and so on and so forth. So that's one, for example, one simple thing everybody can do here.
Mm.
Everybody listening can do that. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, small, big, vegetarian, carnivore. Everybody, or I should say, most people will feel the benefit from it. Some people, like I said, with all supplements, don't respond. There's a certain subset, but most people will get a lot of benefit from it.
Okay. Let's say if someone, because I do know some people, they don't like to take supplements, right? And or they cannot afford it, right? Just for example, what would be your other suggestion for people who don't want to take creatine, but they want to improve their energy, or their mental clarity or performance? What would be your other suggestion other than taking supplements?
Well, first of all, I would like to get to the bottom of why they don't like to take supplements. Why are they against supplements? I have some friends that are against
Yeah.
supplements, and then I ask them, and then some of them will tell me things like, because it's not natural,
Yeah.
and I want to live naturally. I want to get my nutrition from food, and I tell them, look, that's all fine and dandy. I love that. I wish I could do that. I wish we could all do that, but we the world around us, look around, the world around us is not natural. It's as far removed as natural as can be. People spend the entirety of their day away from the sunlight, or they're in the sun but they got their clothes on or sunscreen on. You got so not enough light during the day, you got too much blue light at night. You're off of the actual earth, so you're not grounded and not connected to the earth. The food that you eat, most people are still eating non-organically produced food, so it's full of pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, or the processed foods, it's full of, again, chemicals and chemicals. So you don't live in the natural world. So to think that a natural approach is enough in a non-natural world, in the modern world, is a little bit, I'm afraid to say, naive. So I always try to kind of understand what is the problem. Or is it because some people genuinely can't swallow a supplement or can't keep it down? I've had people that tell me I want to puke after taking supplements. So there's things around that we can change around that to improve that. But if it's because you think
Mm.
it's not natural, again, look around. You are driving a metal machine to work. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to people on the other side of the world on this magic device. There's nothing natural about the modern world. And again, if you look at the toxic exposure that we're the
Yeah.
toxins that we're being exposed to, that creates increases the burden on the body, which increases our the body's demand for nutrients and energy, so and minerals and vitamins. So thinking about it this way, right? Let's say, Joyan, let's say you ate a perfect diet for you. Every single mineral, vitamin, amino acid, fat, carbohydrate, let's say you met all your requirements with your diet of 2000
Mm.
calories today, right? But just because you're getting exposed to all the toxins, some of those nutrients and some of that energy, some of those amino acids and minerals and vitamins will need to be used to detoxify and repair the damage from those. Let's say it's 1 or 2% of that is required. So you were eating a perfect diet, but because you have to do all this repair and other work that the modern world provides, unfortunately, you are now suboptimal in terms of your requirements for nutrients and everything else. So you're, let's say, a 2% deficit. Now, if you're like that every single day, eating a perfect diet but 2% deficit because of the extra detoxification you need to do, over a year, that 2%, how much would that compound? Over 10 years, over a lifetime. So, again, this is why people are starting to experience a lot of diseases earlier and earlier because they're at a deficit, and some people are at much more than a 2% deficit. 2% deficit, you would be doing pretty well now in the modern world with a 2% deficit. So this is kind of my rationale why we have to be in a state of serious abundance, because even if you meet your RDAs, your recommended daily allowances, which are not designed for optimal health. They're designed to keep you alive and working the factory floor or whatever it is. So even if you meet the RDAs, which for many people is very difficult, you you are very likely not meeting your optimum levels that are required. So that would be my little rant about why supplements are actually so important in today's world. However, if someone is willing to make certain
Mm.
dietary decisions to improve their dietary intake, I am this is always something I work on as well with clients, right? And my number one thing, and many people are still not doing this, is liver eating. If you're not a vegetarian or a vegan and you eat animal products, liver and other organ meats are one of the best sources of pretty much all the nutrients. Like liver has all the vitamins, all the minerals, and things that we haven't even discovered yet that are probably essential for life. So liver, egg yolks are another very abundant source of B vitamins. There's some protein, there's some fats in there. Choline, which when it comes to optimizing brain health and mental performance, choline, which is again found in liver and egg yolks, is one of the most important nutrients, right? So eating egg yolks and liver supplies choline, which is used in create the creation of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which is involved in sort of this kind of memory and cognitive function and stuff like that. So in all the best nootropic supplements used to boost brain health and mental performance, they're kind of based on choline, some derivative of choline, right? So liver, egg yolks, and then if you can tolerate organic, if you can get organic milk, full fat, maybe goat milk or cow's milk or lightly pasteurized organic pastured milk, that's another great source of nutrients. um, and then you know making sure that your diet is organic, I think. So if you eat plenty of liver and egg yolks and enough protein and enough carbohydrates, which a lot of people are not eating enough of, especially women, making sure the diet is organic so you're not getting toxins along with it, so you're not burdening the body. If you do those things and eat healthy fats as much as possible, you will be providing a lot of nutrients. The issue is that many people don't do those things or can't do those things, and in those cases, that's when supplements can kind of fill that gap that people might have.
Okay. Right. So, okay, now my next question is, like, where do we start? Because we can start with the nutrition, we can start with the exercise or routine, or but what is really, for, let's say, someone who is that person comes to you, right, and she or he has no idea where to start. So what would be the first step to help that person to really figure out what she or he needs, or what she or he lacks in their body, and then figure out the right
Mhm.
nutrition plan or meal plan or routine for them? Like, what would be the first step?
Sure. So with my clients, they fill out some forms and we have that initial consultation, and I've reviewed the forms so I can quickly zone in on their diet,
Yeah.
lifestyle, just any health issues they're experiencing. So I can quickly identify if there's a lack of something or something that needs to be removed or improved in the diet, lifestyle, and everything else related to all of that. So everybody's quite individual, but for the regular person, or I guess for most people, I would say that the most important thing to start focusing on improving, if you haven't started already,
Yeah.
is the diet.
Okay.
The diet is the number one thing, because again, if you're like most people, unfortunately, still the very large majority of people that are not they're not investing in certified organic food, or maybe they don't have access to certified organic food, or maybe they just haven't been taught yet the value of organic food and the dangers of conventionally produced food. So switching to organic food is probably the most important thing I would recommend to people before you even start investing in supplements, unless there's like a serious deficiency of something, that is, let's say vitamin D or B vitamins or whatever else. Um, really improving the diet, and if you can do the water situation as
Yeah.
well, if you can improve that, it would be ideal, because at the end of the day, we drink water every day, we eat multiple times a day, most of us. So this can be a great source of toxic exposure if left to chance, right? And what I mean by that is, I see too many people still drinking out of plastic bottles, and uh, um, products are labeled BPA free as if that means something. I did an episode on my podcast last week, or it's coming out this week or something like that. And anyway, it's called BPA free. Don't mean jack. There is no such thing, and there is no such thing as safe plastics. So they removed BPA, bisphenol A, but there is also bisphenol B, and I'm guessing C and D and E. I'm guessing that because right now the most prevalent are bisphenol S and bisphenol F are being used in plastics. So very very similar molecules, very similar sort of compound that is still a very serious hormonal disruptor, endocrine disruptor. So not, all that to say, drinking out of plastic bottles is not really a very good solution. So as you can see,
Yeah.
Joyan, here I have this cost €2, which
Yeah.
is $2.50 glass bottle. So I bought 6 of these, and when we leave the house, I have a reverse osmosis system that took less than an hour to install under my sink. It cost about $200 equivalent, and I fill these bottles with water before, let's say, we're going to the beach or the park, or even going to a restaurant or to see friends. I always have 2 3 bottles in my bag or in the car with pristinely clean water in glass bottles. So I built that habit. Most people can definitely, let's say you're at home, you invest $200 in a reverse osmosis system, or at least a good filtration unit. Before you go to work, fill up a bottle or two, however much you need. Yes, it's a bit heavier. Yes, you have to carry it with you, but is I especially, like, look at like a hot country.
Yeah.
If you got a plastic bottle and then you're out and it's in your bag and it's hot, how much of this these toxins, endocrine disruptors are leaching into our water, right? So I don't want to leave that to chance. Maybe it's not that much, maybe it's some, but I can definitely get a plasticky taste from once you switch to drinking normal good water, you can really taste just even from a Brita jug. So that's one thing. If you can sort that out along, and one more thing I'll add is, if you can invest, it's under $50 or under $100 or thereabouts to buy a simple to install shower filter. That's another area where most people are lacking. Is you get this, it's a filter, you screw it on, you unscrew your shower head, you screw this filter on, and then you screw back on the shower head. Takes 5 minutes. You might need some Teflon tape as well when you're buying it. um, 5 minutes, now you're greatly reducing the chlorine that's hitting your skin and also hitting your bathroom floor, that causing it to evaporate into the air, and you're breathing it in. So if you can remove that small exposure that accumulates every day, because we all shower almost every day probably. So get the or reverse osmosis system, get the shower filter for about 250 $300 it will cost, and then look to start buying as much as possible certified organic or wild caught foods, or if you can find farmers that you know how they grew or raised the food, that would be ideal.
I think the best plan is to hire you. It's too much, right? Well, because it's good information. But again, someone like me with a busy entrepreneur must be thinking, oh my god, like where do I find a time to do all these things? I'm just kidding. So the
So,
best idea is to
you
hire
know,
you.
Joanne, I'll tell you though, like I work with a lot of busy people,
Yeah.
and the at first, maybe the first month or two, we might meet a bit more often, maybe once every 3 weeks. But after that, we meet once a month,
Mm,
generally for like 25 to 45 minutes, and we work usually for 6 to 9 to 12 months together, and we meet once a month. And these people, in 3 4 months, all of these things I'm talking about, they become second nature. It just takes, yourself, it takes a month to build a habit. So
yeah.
I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there, but if you every week, let's say, okay, this week I will buy the reverse osmosis system.
Yeah.
Next week I'll just switch all my fruits to organic. The next week after, oh, let me order that shower filter. The next week, oh, you know what, let me get an air filter for the
Mm.
bedroom, a pure air purifier. And if you do it systematically, a year from now you look back and like, wow, I could start coaching people how to do all this stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we get overwhelmed because we want to do everything all at once, right? Want to change it, we want to change that, change our diet, go exercise, carry water bottle, but it's
Yeah,
to do one thing at a time, right? Well, of course,
yeah,
the ideal scenario is to change everything all at once, but most people don't
ideally,
have
yeah,
the luxury to do that. And so the last thing I
yeah.
will talk about is about sleep, because I feel like sleep is often overlooked and it's crucial for our
Mm,
overall health and well-being. So do you have some tips or insights that you want to share on sleep? Because we sleep every
sure.
day, you know?
Oh yeah, this is another one of those things that sleep and are very tightly correlated.
Yeah.
If you're very stressed in the evening because of high cortisol and other stress hormones, your sleep will be affected. At the same time, if your sleep is affected, it's likely that the next day you will not be as productive, and likely you will be more stressed, more cranky. You will probably It will be harder to be disciplined about, let's say, going to the gym or eating better, or selecting higher quality foods. So it's extremely important to interrupt that vicious cycle if somebody is in it. Now, there's a lot of things we can do to do that. I I've had sleep problems in the past, and my wife has had sleep problems. So we've gotten really really good in terms of sleep So there's three or four different things here that we can kind of
Yeah.
quickly touch on. So you got your sleep environment, you got your sleep hygiene,
Mm.
you got your supplements that can enhance sleep. I love I'm such a supplement nerd that cannot help myself talking about supplements. And then we also have the meal timing. This is actually quite important. So I'll actually start there. So a lot of people, they think if they don't eat carbs in the evening, they're going to burn more fat, right? Or if they eat carbs in the evening, all that sugar
Yeah.
is going to get stored as fat, so that's really bad. And it's the good a good way to stay trim is to, eat carbs in the morning when you're using your energy, and then don't eat carbs at night, right?
Yeah.
Or some people would do intermittent fasting. They might like eat for 6 or 8 hours and then fast the rest of the time. Now, the problem that can happen, let's say you eat your dinner at 6,
Yeah.
and let's say you eat carbs. Let's say you eat a normal dinner with everything, carbs, fat, protein, and then you go to bed at, let's say, 10 o'clock. That's been 4 hours already. Now, when you ate those carbs, you filled up your liver with glucose, glycogen, as it's stored. It's what it's called. And that glycogen, the liver will use to maintain your blood sugar. So what will happen is, after a few hours of not eating, you kick into the liver is using this stored glucose as glycogen to maintain your blood sugar. Very important. Otherwise, you can fall into a coma, and it's very important for the blood sugar to be maintained. If the liver starts doing that and starts running, and no glucose is coming in from the food, and the liver starts running lower on glycogen, it kicks into a process to start producing glucose. And one of the ways this happens is by raising cortisol. So it's kind of a stress response. So let's say it's 10 o'clock, you went to bed, you ate dinner at 6, 11 o'clock, you're asleep,
Yeah.
but now your liver is running low on glucose, so it has to start making glucose. Your cortisol, your stress hormones go up, and you kick into it. And sometimes people that wake up a couple of hours after falling asleep, or having trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, it's because they're in a stress mode, because they didn't eat enough carbs close to bedtime. And usually, when I tell those people, have a glass of milk, or even a glass of organic fresh pressed orange juice, or a big tablespoon of honey half an hour before bed, they're like, wow, geez, first time I did it, the first time, and I slept like a baby. And then after that, I kept sleeping. So sometimes with people, that is all that is required to fix a sleep problem, because they're waking up, because they're in a stress cortisol sort of cascade to maintain their blood sugar. So that's one thing that can happen. Now, in terms of sleep hygiene, I'm talking about blue light exposure predominantly, and what you're doing the couple of hours before sleep. Obviously, if you're going to be watching horror movies without blue blocking glasses, bad idea. If you're going to be doing techno music, dancing, and whatever else, bad idea. Drinking coffee, bad idea. So things, what we want to be calming down, no news, no sort of negativity. Maybe read a book, listen to a nice maybe listen to your podcast, something relaxing, positive,
Mm.
and meditation, light stretching, no crazy
Exercise,
exercise
jogging.
that, yeah, yeah, but some movement is totally fine. And then sleep environment, I think most people know, the room has to be cool,
Mm.
dark. Perhaps not all people like it completely pitch black, but dark, quite dark. Another pro tip is, we use red lights. If you go to Amazon, most people can find red LED light bulbs for a few bucks. So at night, a couple of hours before bed, we switch off the regular blue, kind of regular standard yellow lights, and we switch to red lights, and that's much less disruptive to the circadian rhythm. So that's another part of sort of sleep hygiene slash sleep environment. So we do that. Making sure that your phone is on airplane mode and away from you, and anything that's plugged in. Let's say you have a lamp
Yeah.
that's plugged in. You don't want things near your head that are plugged into the sockets, because they create electromagnetic fields that can, with certain more sensitive people, can actually be, for example, my wife is one of those people. She cannot sleep next to something like that's plugged in, because of that
Wow.
field. Is disturbing. Yeah, yes. And there's even more sensitive people than that, that just get sick being next to, let's say, like a refrigerator or something
Mm.
like that. So the little things like that can, again, things like that can accumulate and wreck you. So let's say you don't eat enough carbs with dinner, or you think you're going to burn more fat if you skip dinner, and then let's say you're on your phone until bedtime, or you're watching the news, or and then you're getting blasted with a lot of blue light. And then the room is too hot, it needs to be cool, like all those kind of the bed environment needs to be optimized. So if you have these five things not optimized, I'm not surprised if you're not having optimal sleep. So those would be the best ones. And then supplements, just briefly, my favorite ones are, they're basically amino acids.
Mm.
So stuff that you can get in your protein, but I use them in a targeted approach. So my favorite would be glycine, the amino acid, which is also good for detoxification. It boosts your detoxification. It's actually good for your skin and staying youthful longer, because glycine is part of collagen, and collagen, obviously the skin, the joints, and even the bones. I think 40% of bone tissue is collagen. So adding glycine to your diet not only helps with detoxification, supporting collagen, I already said detoxification, um, supporting bone health, this kind of other stuff. But also they've done studies where 3 to 4 grams of glycine before bed improves sleep. So that's another sleep aid that we can use. And then there's another one called GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, GABA, GABA. That's another good one. It's an inhibitory amino acid, and about 500 milligrams for most people is enough. It almost gives you a little bit of a feeling like after having a glass of wine, because alcohol and GABA, they work. Alcohol works on the GABA receptors in the brain. That GABA is a neurotransmitter, right? So GABA can kind of give you that kind of sedated feeling without the negative effects of alcohol.
Wow.
And yeah, those two would be my favorite. Another one is a mineral, a very important mineral that most people's diets are deficient in, is glycine. I mean, sorry, magnesium. And the best form for sleep is magnesium glycinate.
Mm.
It's a chelated form of magnesium, so you're getting magnesium and a little bit of glycine. So 300 milligrams of that with dinner. Some of my clients, actually one of my clients, he started taking that with dinner, and a few days later he was emailing me. He said, oh my god, my wife was poking me in the middle of the night. She thought I had died. I was sleeping so deeply just because of the magnesium glycinate.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, it probably means you were a little bit magnesium deficient in that case. So good that we restarted it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all these information and tips and insights. I mean, I personally learned a lot from today's episode from you, and I'm sure my listeners they are as well. And so now tell my listeners before we go to the final section of our podcast, which always do, we have a final fire rapid fire question. But now tell my listeners where they can find out, more about you or connect with you or even work with you, or maybe do you offer like free consultation with people?
Of course, yeah. So my website is christianyordanov.com. Just my name. If you Google my name, it should come up. And I offer a free intro call with people. So I help. Generally, most of my clients have some type of fairly complex chronic health problems, but I also work with people that want to optimize health, optimize longevity, or some type of performance, be that sports performance, athletic type stuff, or mental performance. I've done a lot of research on improving mental performance, and in fact, it helped. Like my use of cognitive enhancing aids allowed me to write my first book in 8 months.
Wow.
It was, and it's a 300 page book with a lot of research, hundreds of scientific studies there. So it was I believe the only thing that allowed me to do that was a lot of coffee, a lot of free time, of course, and my ability to use to enhance my cognition using,
Mm.
again, supplements and other lifestyle interventions. So I help people with all of those things. um, and anybody that's interested in understanding how I can help them in their specific situation, they can go on my website, schedule a free call, and then we can take it from there.
All right. So, guys, yeah, I put all his links in the show note below. But for now, we always end with our final five rapid fire questions. So, every question has to be answered in one word or one sentence maximum.
Okay,
These are all the questions that I ask all my guests at the end of the show.
awesome.
So, first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
The importance of reducing toxic exposure and detoxification.
Awesome. If you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently?
I would never touch a drop of alcohol. Definitely killed a lot of productivity over when I was younger.
We all do. The third question is, what is something you're trying to learn or curious about right now?
It's all health related.
Mm, okay. Is there a particular research that you are, particular area that you are interested in right now? Maybe for your next book?
Oh, actually, yeah, yeah. This is quite interesting. Uh, the role of of serotonin in the body. It's not what we've been told.
Wow. Let me know when you have your next book. We can have you back on the show and we can talk about that. Now, if you have 5 minutes and the whole world was listening to you, what would you say?
Learn the importance of reducing toxic exposure and detoxification.
I love how consistent you are with your answers.
It's important.
Yes, I know. I get how important it is. Right? I love it. Now, the last question is, what brings you joy?
My daughter and
Uh,
my family and being out there outside in the sunshine with my dog. These things.
Wow, that's beautiful. Awesome. All right, guys. I hope you learned a lot from today's episode. Just like me, go follow Christian, go to his website, book a call with him where he shares more with you and explore, how you can improve your health, improve your productivity and mental clarity if you are an entrepreneur, especially. And you will find all the links in the show note below, including all the resources that we have for you in today's episode. And to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at Joyan Chan, Joyan.chan to see what I'm up to. And we release new episode every Wednesday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode with me and my awesome guests. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave with every other episode. Show up, the world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning to Find Joy with Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can help support this podcast in one of three ways. One, take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your IG story and tag me at findjoyjoyan_podcast so I can repost and connect with you. Two, share this podcast with a friend or a family member. And three, leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to grow and reach more listeners worldwide. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss out on any episode coming Wednesday. Thanks for being here, and I will see you soon in the next episode.